Okay. All right, we are recording. I'm going to share my presentation with y'all and we'll go through that. Okay, everybody can see it? Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and get started. So, you are here for our music therapy information meeting for Coppell Conservatory. So, today I'm going to answer your questions and let you know a little bit more in depth about music therapy. I am a board certified music therapist, so that's why my credential says MTBC, Music Therapist Board Certified, is what that means. Okay, so what is music therapy? According to the American Music Therapy Association, music therapy is an established health profession in which music is used within a therapeutic relationship to address physical, emotional, cognitive, and social needs of individuals. So, this is the official definition by the governing body in America for music therapists. But how I like to discuss music therapy and how I like to describe it for people is that I use musical interventions to achieve non musical goals. And those goals can range widely and vary a lot depending on the client and the population that I'm serving, because music therapy can be used in a lot of different settings. And music therapy is only conducted by a music therapist. No one else can conduct music therapy. Um, Performers, musicians that are just musicians and don't have the credential aren't licensed to provide music therapy. So we're going to talk a little bit about that licensure. So, um, what is a music therapist? So, a music therapist has to do a few things to become a music therapist. The first thing is that they have to have a bachelor's or master's degree in music therapy. It can't just be music. If they go to school for just music, they can go back for their master's degree. But in my case, I did it all in undergrad. So I majored in music therapy at TWU in Denton, and then I got my minor in applied psychology. So every music therapist has to take the music therapy courses as well as the regular music courses for any music major. And on top of that, they'll take a lot of psychology courses. Um, so moving on, the internship requirements. So we have to complete 1,200 clinical hours in order to become a music therapist. So everyone has to do a 6-month internship somewhere. You can do them in any setting. I did mine in a pediatric hospital. So I treated a wide range of clients with all types of things going on. I saw the NICU babies that were born prematurely, and then like my oldest client I saw was 21. So I saw a lot of different things there. But also in school, I was getting some hours as well. I was in different settings there. So some of the settings that I did my training in were I did my training at a private music therapy practice. I did my training in hospice, in the NICU, and what was my other one? Oh, memory care. So older adults with dementia and Alzheimer's. Um, so that's a wide range. Music therapy can be used for a lot of different things. Um, and then obviously, like I have a lot of background with children, so that comes in handy at Coppell Conservatory. And then every music therapist has to sit for the board certification exam, and we have recertification every 5 years, so we have to do continuing education to keep up with that. Um, Music therapists are required to have goals and documentation when providing treatment. It's not music therapy unless they are doing those two things. Okay, moving on. And I can't see y'all, so I'll ask questions at the end if anybody has any. But right now I can't really see y'all if you're raising your hand or anything. So let's talk about music therapy specifically at Coppell Conservatory. So I do see individual clients at Coppell Conservatory. I see them for music therapy. A few of my clients have different things going on. Some are on the autistic spectrum and they have ASD. Some don't have a formal diagnosis. It just kind of depends on what the needs are for the client. I also do adapted lessons. So I'm teaching an instrument, but through the lens of music therapy. Um, so that it is in a way that the client can best comprehend the teaching, and understanding the instrument. And the instrument is almost like a skill, like it's an emotional regulation skill as well as like them getting better at an instrument, right? So it's a little bit different than a normal lesson. And then we also have the music therapy for wellness groups. So we have two different groups, and I'll go a little bit more in depth with those. But music therapy 1 is the 8 to 12 years of age group, and music therapy 2 is the 13 to 18 years. Those two groups, those age groups, we just wanted to have a different age group basically for each group so that we don't have too large of an age group trying to relate to one another. But those aren't hard limits on those ages. That's just kind of how we've decided to group them. But if there's a need for like a younger group, younger than 8, we can address that need later, depending on interest. So those are just kind of the ages we have set right now. So the younger group is Music Therapy 1. They meet on Thursdays for 45 minutes from 5 to 5:45 p.m. So this group, these are some of the goals we're going to be addressing: exploring feelings, enhancing coping skills, increasing attention and focus. And because it's group therapy, promoting positive peer interactions because they're relating to one another in these groups. So with the younger group, one way I might explore feelings with them is we might listen to a song about feelings. I have an example of that later that I'll share with y'all. But another thing is we might like pick feeling cards, and then we have to make a song according to that feeling. So we get all the instruments in my room. I am in a piano classroom, so I have a lot of keyboards, but I also have a guitar, a ukulele, a lot of percussion instruments, xylophone, different things like that. So it'll give them an opportunity to explore those feelings, express themselves through music, in a structured environment where there's like a prompt, there's a feeling that we're discussing. And then after we make the song, we discuss that feeling a little bit further. So like, what was the time you felt that feeling? What did you do when you felt that feeling? How did it feel in your body when you felt that feeling? Different things like that. So the music is kind of a catalyst for a deeper discussion, but obviously this is the younger group, so that discussion may not go super deep, especially starting out, not as deep as like the teen group might go. And I'll talk a little bit more about like the complexities of that one in a little bit. But yeah, we're discussing feelings, self-expressing through music using different instruments. And then we'll also talk about coping skills when we talk about those feelings. So like we want to talk about things that are going to help them when they're in that feeling, right? Because negative emotions aren't inherently bad. It's what we do when we feel those emotions. What are the actions we're taking when we feel those? And what helps us feel better? So talking about those coping skills, establishing those, helps them to have a plan for when they feel that feeling, and it provides them with those skills. And then also increasing attention and focus. It's a 45-minute group because it's very structured and we're doing a lot of different things and we're moving the whole time. That way we're not losing attention throughout. And it'll be very different than like if you're in my group piano classes, it's very individualistic. So like the kids are kind of on their own and then I check in with them and I help them out. But they are playing piano independently in that class. This is different because they're not really doing anything on their own at all, right? We're always with the group. It's cohesive. But also we're maintaining attention and focus throughout. We're taking turns. Because those are skills they need to be able to have, right? Those are life skills. Being patient and waiting for their friend to answer the question. Raising our hand, right? Those are lifelong skills that are helpful. And I already talked a little bit about the positive peer interactions, but when we have multiple kids, it becomes a little bit easier to open up than if it were just me and the child one-on-one. And while I can do individual therapy, there's something special about groups, in that they can relate to one another. So I talked about the interventions a little bit already, but here's a list for you to kind of look at. When we're first starting out these groups, I am trying to build rapport with these kids. So we might do some things that look really fun, but there is a deeper meaning behind it, right? So, like music bingo or a drum circle, things like that, they're really fun, but also they lead to us getting to know one another. And with the drum circle, like they're having to take direction and watch the leader of the drum circle. They're taking turns on who's the leader. And we're making group music together, but it is a very structured environment. I already talked a little bit about feeling card songs. And then we might also analyze the lyrics of a song. It won't be anything too complicated. It will be songs that talk about feelings, but don't have any too complex of subject matter that they may not understand. Um, yeah. And then we might like rewrite the lyrics based off how we feel instead of what like the song already has. Okay, moving on. Music therapy 2, that is the older age group. So that's for my teens. That is Monday nights from 7 to 7:45. So these are some of the goals we're trying to accomplish in music therapy 2. There is some crossover from the younger group, but I'll kind of explain some of the differences. So like increasing self-expression, promoting self-care, increasing self-confidence, establishing support systems, and increasing socialization. Middle school and high school is a tough time. There's a lot of pressures academically, maybe on them to perform playing their instrument. And then also there's social pressures as well. So they might be trying to fit in with a group. They may not feel super confident in themselves. So we're going to talk about that. And then also just having self-care promoted young is very helpful when they grow up and they already have kind of a system on how to deal with these intense emotions. Um, yeah, what else can I say? Establishing support systems. So we'll talk a little bit about like people they can rely on and talk to about some of these things. That might be family, that might be friends, right? So just having them identify who those people are that they can go to, right, to talk about these things. Um, and then also, I mean, coping skills falls into this one too. Um, and that's kind of under our self care umbrella. And then socialization. Sometimes it's hard to get teens to open up, but oftentimes when they do, they relate to one another. And I know they feel like they're going through this alone a lot of the times when they're not. They've got peers that are going through very similar things. They just won't talk to each other about it. So I'm trying to get them to open up a little bit. And sometimes they may not want to talk, and we won't have to, and they won't want to talk, and we may have to do more introspective work where they're kind of processing internally rather than externally. So it'll look kind of different depending on the day. So some of the interventions for music therapy 2, we might do some improvisation on instruments. If that's something they're interested in, I'm totally willing to do that. A lot of times with music therapy 2, we're doing lyric analysis because we can take songs that the teens are already listening to and relating to, and I can have them share it with the class and we can kind of dive into those lyrics. Usually I'll come in with something, we'll talk about the song, and then if they have a song similar or that reminds them of a song that they relate to, then maybe we do that the next week. Different things like that. And then also, if they're interested in songwriting, that kind of gives them the opportunity to make choices musically as well as in writing their lyrics, right? So we could also do that as a group. And that's also a bonding experience for the kids if we can make a song together and make music together. Okay. All right. So what does this look like? I'm going to give y'all an example of an intervention. And I'm going to see if I can turn my spotlight off and go back to me for a second so you can see me while I'm playing my guitar. Okay. All right. Hopefully y'all can hear me all right. It's better that you hear my singing than my guitar because the lyrics are important for this one. The song is called This is the Story of My Feelings. I think that's the full title. This is the Story of My Feelings, and it's by Laurie Berkner. She does a lot of children's music, so this is not a song I would use with the teens. I would probably use it with the younger group. But yeah, here we go. This is the story of when I cry. When I'm feeling sad, that's when I cry, and it makes me feel better. It makes me feel better. You know I feel better when I cry. This is the story of when I laugh. When I'm feeling happy, that's when I laugh, and it makes me feel better. It makes me feel better. You know I feel better when I laugh. This is the story of when I yell. When I'm feeling angry, that's when I yell, and it makes me feel better. It makes me feel better. You know I feel better when I yell. This is the story of when I sigh. When I'm feeling calm, that's when I sigh, and it makes me feel better. It makes me feel better. You know I feel better when I sigh. When I cry, when I laugh, when I yell, no, it makes me feel better. It makes me feel better. All right. So that song talks about a lot of different feelings and different actions to go with each feeling. So what I would do if I was doing the song with the younger group is I would print out those lyrics so that they can read along while we're doing it. And then they can underline any parts of the song they want to talk about, or we can just discuss the feeling. Maybe we add another verse. We talk about another feeling that they want to talk about. And maybe they don't cry when they're sad. Maybe they do other things when they're sad. Maybe they want to be alone. So it kind of lends itself to a deeper discussion about the feeling and the action associated with the feeling. So that's just one example of a song that I would use with the younger group. All right, I'm going to go back and spotlight my presentation. All right, we're back. I hope y'all can see it. We all good? Okay, cool. All right, so to answer any questions you have about the groups, the price is $70 a month. The location is going to be in my classroom. If we kind of outgrow my classroom, we might move into the recital hall, but we'll be in there for now. And that's my normal group piano classroom, if you're already familiar with it. And we have 10 total spots for those groups. So if we get to 10, we'll probably move into the recital hall, just so we have enough space. And then the groups do start tomorrow. So we have our first older group, so Music Therapy 2, that'll start tomorrow. And then we have our fall break. We'll continue the groups after that. And then for any questions you may have about scheduling or finances, you can just consult the office. And I do have their information at the end of the presentation if you don't have it already. So we talked about what music therapy is. We talked about what a music therapist is. And then we talked about the services that Coppell Conservatory is offering for music therapy. All right. Thank y'all so much for attending. And if you have any questions, now's your time to ask those. I do have my email on here and the office's number. And then if you have any inclination to look deeper into music therapy and what it is, I have a few different websites listed here. And I think we're also going to send out the presentation and the recording if you want to find those there. So I'll go ahead